Because I'll tell you, being in Egypt, the Egyptians certainly have their hands full trying to get them to stop. And they know what they're up against. Okay, it's a very big effort. So I just like to point it out because what does Al-Azhar say? We certify the above-mentioned translation corresponds to the Arabic original and conforms to the practice and faith of the Orthodox Sunni community. There is no objection to printing it or circulating it. If it's good enough for you if you converted to Islam, it's good enough for you if you didn't, right? So let's go back. Here is the OIC, and it talks about subsidiary organs, and it says the International Fiqh Academy in Jeddah. It is in Jeddah. So not only is this book authenticated and verified by Al-Azhar, the Muslim Brotherhood domestically, the Triple IT in Saudi Arabia, but it's also authenticated by an organization that represents 57 member states comprising the leadership of the Muslim world, in fact. So I don't know what version of Islamic law you would like to use, but I'll use one that we know has status. And we'll use one that we have a reasonable chance of getting admitted into a court of law as evidence for the points that it makes when making the point. And we would just like to ask that the other side, if they want to counter it, because we've met a burden of proof, be able to match that effort with a countervailing effort that goes beyond, well, I just believe personally that I can't get my hands around that, and therefore I choose not to believe it. And therefore I can postulate a countervailing meaning. So here we have it. I'm going to flash by here. So we go to the section on jihad in this book of Islamic law. And you know, I created this. I used to just key it in, and people said, Steve, you took it out of context. And then I just put the definition from the book and said, oh, you didn't give the whole thing. So what I did was I started the practice of taking a picture of the book, the table of contents, the table of contents for the section, and the particular section, and then the entire page. So if someone wanted to challenge me, we could stop the brief and look at all of it. We're not going to lose on the facts. We're not going to lose on the facts. The other side cannot win if they're forced to confront a factual argument. What does it say? Jihad means to wage war against non-Muslims, is etymologically derived from the word muhajadah, signifying warfare to establish the religion. And it is the lesser jihad. We're not going to go into a detail of what that means, but what it means is jihad means exactly what you think it means when you hear terrorists say they're fighting jihad. What else do we know? That notwithstanding what you think jihad means, the people who are killing us can go to what appears to be an authentic version of Islamic law to justify what they're doing because it explicitly states that. How many people think this is an obscure definition? How many people think it's crystal clear? Okay? So some 19-year-old who decides he's not sure about his Islam goes and buys this book and gets that definition, and he's on, we might understand where he might be heading. But we won't think that it was a hard, complex analysis that he had to read to get that. How many people have heard, when you get discussions about Islam, heard people say it's complicated? It's complicated. I want you to start keeping track of how many times you hear people use the word complicated when you start talking about this. The inference being it's so complicated you can't understand. That's what happens. So here's Louis Safi. He wrote this book, International Institute of Islamic Thought. Remember, he was the director of the Triple IT when he wrote Peace and the Limits of War in 2001. And we know that the Triple IT said the book of Sharia was correct. We know that book of Sharia says jihad means warfare. And we know that the Muslim Brotherhood is committed to civilization jihad to destroy us from within. Do you see this? There's no ambiguity here. The analysis is limited to just taking what they say and putting it in order. So, here we have Hassan al-Banna. Does this sound like a deeply theological statement by the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood? It is the nature of Islam to dominate, not to be dominated, to impose its laws on all nations, and to extend its power to the entire planet. Does that sound like deep theology to you? Well, everybody's laughing, but this is what you're allowing to be brought in under the guise that the Brotherhood represents a religious movement. Are you not? This is what people are silencing you from pointing out because you're an Islamophobe. And this is an explicit political statement about the goal is the seizure of power. So, we take a look at the Joint Staff publications for the U.S. military. It defines insurgency as the organized use of subversion and violence by a group or movement that seeks to overthrow or force change of a governing authority. I don't know. I think anybody who says they're in your country to subvert and destroy qualifies for the definition of insurgency. By the way, it does. Okay? It does. Okay? Especially if they define that jihad as warfare. And you have U.S. code that says that is illegal. Why am I pointing this out? Because on our side, not only do we have facts, because there's laws here that say the same thing. Not only do we have the facts, but we have the law. So when the question comes up, what can we do? I'm going to give answers. But first and foremost, the answer is you have to have the will to fight back. Because the attack is an attack on your will. I would love if we had time, and I don't think we will, to show you a couple slides to make it absolutely clear that the number one objective of jihad is the destruction of your will, the destruction of your faith. And if anybody, after we're done, wants to see that, I will drive that home. And here will be the kicker. That publication will not come from Al-Qaeda or the Brotherhood. It will come from a book called The Quranic Concept of War, which was written by a major general of the Pakistani army while on the chief of staff of the Pakistani army, which the chief of staff of the Pakistani army said, this is our doctrine. Oh, and our allies.